We all know why we're here. So let me ask you a question then. Why the big secret? Truth seekers, we're really the true leaders. Keep it grooving, the movement like two-seaters. Turn it up, we're knocking through both speakers. It's time we get the truth from the big secret keepers. Hey, truth seekers, we're really the true leaders. Keep it grooving, the movement like two-seaters. Turn it up, we're knocking through both speakers. It's time we get the truth from the big secret keepers. Hey, break it down, now can you peep it? They're deceiving all the people. Let me ask you, what's the secret? Misinformation and lies, a devious disguise. They want the EMF blast until our brains is fried. Oh, point their beams in the sky. Oh, it's a movie now. This world is all CGI, their plot is truly foul. But we're here to rise up and bring the real. Time is now, truth seekers, y'all know how I feel. Truth seekers, we're really the true leaders. Keep it grooving, the movement like two-seaters. Turn it up, we're knocking through both speakers. It's time we get the truth from the big secret keepers. Hey, truth seekers, we're really the true leaders. Keep it grooving, the movement like two-seaters. Turn it up, we're knocking through both speakers. It's time we get the truth from the big secret keepers. Hey, why the big secret?
All right, truth seekers, it is Tuesday. I just want to welcome each and every one of you here tonight, and hopefully you all had a great Thanksgiving. I'm Roderick Martin, of course, if you know that. But if you hadn't, there may be still some turkey or some food left in some other places, and we're going to be doing that as well. We're going to have a great show tonight. We're going to break it down to a few segments, and we'll get into that in a few moments for you to really enjoy. So hopefully, and I'll take the time out in a few seconds in a little bit to say hello to everybody in the chat that's been here as well from there. So some of the things that we're going to be talking about, so let me just kind of put that up for you so you know where we're going to be going tonight. We're going to have a 3-segment show. We're going to talk about the examination of these cryptids, which is Bigfoot. We're going to talk about Bigfoot, okay? And then we're going to actually talk about a little bit about some of these alien encounters, what it means, what's going on in our skies tonight, and some of the cover-ups. So tonight's going to be a lot of questions. There's going to be a lot of just some information for you to take in and also participate in the chat, because it's important. Because now I think we're reaching a time where people are starting to still question whether we're alone in the universe. People still questioning whether Bigfoot is real. And I still got a little speculation on that. We'll go over that in a little bit. But also a lot of these other things. And so we will soon to really try to put together all of our consensus and what we're thinking about. And we'll get this on the road right about now. So what I'm going to do is do the traditional, and that is to get you going. So, all right, truth seekers, I'm excited. This is what I do. All right, you could have had a great Thanksgiving. I hope you had. But anyway, let me start this thing off. I'm going to welcome you to Forbidden Knowledge TV. I'm Roderick Martin, and the host of Roderick Martin, Why the Big Secret. And as always, you could have been any other place tonight, but you chose to be right here, right now. And with that being said, I want to thank you by bidding you good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be in the 24 time zones that this show airs, and also give you a little background. I'm located in the Jumbo State. This is where those UFOs come out to play. It is a Texas thing, y'all. And within Texas, everything comes big. And we're talking about the big promise to be the boldest, baffling, belligerent YouTube channel in the world, creating captivating conversations to certainly cause controversy. So tonight, like no other, we're going to go into the infamous legend of the Bigfoot. We're going to talk about some of the conspiracies that's out there and put a little fact check into it a little bit. We're also going to get deep into maybe a little religion side of things and why they're covering it up stuff, but stick around for the entire show. You won't be disappointed. And so I'm just excited because once again, the holidays are upon us. We got Christmas coming up. So I got a few announcements for you and we will get that going as well. So sit back. As always, this show is not a PG show. It's rated R. So put the kids to bed. And if you're looking for a Texas recipe, you can put a little biscuit, some bacon, some butter, make it up really quick. Give it to the kids. They will enjoy it. Or anybody who don't believe in what we're doing, put them to bed. And we're going to get down to some information. And I just, again, love what I do. And I love each and every one of you from the Texas and Dallas area. This is Roderick Martin. Let's get down to what we're going to be doing. Couple of quick announcements for some of you. If you have not taken an opportunity, and if you're here for the first time on Forbidden Knowledge, make sure you subscribe to this channel immediately. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be coming up in the future. And also subscribe to Why the Big Secret. There was a link in the chat a little earlier. Go ahead and look for it, sign it, and get on board with us tonight. And pretty much we'll get into that on our channel. We're going to stream tomorrow night as well. And we got a lot more content that's going to be popping up for you. I think you really will enjoy it. We also are putting together within the next probably a few weeks. We're going to have our private membership area. And this is the conversations that we can't have on YouTube. It's been really tight with some of them flagging some of these conversations. And then what we do know, the plan out there is to kind of know some of these people like myself who talks about these UFOs, aliens, extraterrestrials. So we're going to have a private area, but it is for people like yourself who are seekers of the truth, whether you are starseeds, whether you're an abductees, contactees. It's going to be a place where we can all do our own social environment behind a wall and then live stream there periodically content that can't be found here. So go to whythebigsecret.com. There is a place to get on the waiting list if you so choose, and it'll give you some information about what is going to be going on there as well. If you are a business owner, let me see it in the chat. Any of you who owns your own business, or especially if it's an online business, and we got something I want to kind of discuss this Christmas coming up. But once again, if you are on your own business, and then that's something great. Oh, okay. Nicole says she watched me on Beyond Belief. Thank you. That was a great interview. Make sure you guys check that out. It's on GAIA with George Noory. But anyway, how many of you own your own business, like where people can find you on the internet and buy your products? Put it in the chat. Just say you do or whatever. And we're going to be giving back to our community, but also helping ourselves. And I think it's something that you really, really want to take a look at. We're going to be doing some shout outs. Okay. And this is going to give you an opportunity to support us, and we support you. And believe me, it's going to be well worth it. We're talking pennies, but we're going to give you a shout out. Now, if you've been watching this channel, we've been getting thousands and thousands of views, probably over 500,000 plus views in the last month and a half, 2 months. So this is the right place. The atmosphere is here. The demographics is here. So if you have a small business and people can find you online and you want to do a shout out, make sure you go over to our contact page on whythebigsecret.com. Let us know, put in your number, a contact number. I'm going to call you back personally. Lonnie will probably call you. And we're going to share with you how we're going to just put you out there for this Christmas in the next few months. And of course, in such a way that it'll benefit us both, but it will definitely be a opportunity to get in front of thousands and thousands of people. So we definitely want you to be able to do that as well. So again, let me look over here in just a minute. But if you, again, we're going to get the show started. So let me give a shout out real quick to some of the people in the audience, and then we're going to hop on this thing and get going. We have Javon, I see, or Javon, what's going on? We have Pac-Man is there. Macy is here. Tom is here. Manny Soul, I see, of course, Ember. And let's see, we got the green thumb. Sean Dobbins is here. What's going on? Are you related to Jeff Dobbins? Sean, let me know. That's my boy. Jeff and I grew up in the hood where he's a lot older, but Jeff is a great friend of the family. So Dobbins' name is kind of, but let me know. Anyway, we have Matthew. We got, let's see, Magneticus is here with us. Jessica, we have, and the list goes on. DMP, Silver Beast. I'm just going down a list for you so we can get this show started in about 60 seconds here. We'll hop this thing on and let's rock it. But anyway, we're going to be talking about the Bigfoot, okay? We're going to get into a few information about Bigfoot. And as I showed you earlier, this is kind of what we're going to go through. So we're going to go through 3 segments. So you have an opportunity to follow along with us and keep up with what's going on, because we're going to cover a lot of information tonight in 3 segments, okay? So get ready. And it's going to begin with this Bigfoot phenomena, and I'm really excited about that, of just really saying, hey, what's really going on with this thing, and let's do it. So let's get started with this. My first question for any of you is, do you believe in Bigfoot? Okay. And all these other cover-ups that's out there. We're going to talk about that in this show tonight. And one of the things that I am, being a UFO investigator, I really was just really surprised at how many people still today is still having problems looking into some of these phenomena that's out here. And I think it's just about time. So tonight, I'm just going to go over some of these facts. We're going to go over some talk tonight, and all of you are going to get involved. So Bigfoot, why do people believe in Bigfoot? And the concern is, what evidence, and I start that really, what evidence out there? As you can see, I'm probably a skeptic, just a little bit, even though I'm in ufology, but what evidence has been presented to prove the existence of Bigfoot anyway? And we'll go over some of these things. And I'll start with what we call the eyewitnesses account. Now, that's the same thing with ufology. So, okay, ufology has eyewitnesses, people who says they have seen UFOs. And so we'll definitely get into that. But let's think about eyewitnesses when it comes down to Bigfoot, where many people have reported these sightings of a large, hairy, ape-like creature, right? And these reports describes the Bigfoot, and they talk about how big it is, 6 feet, 8 feet tall, with like some big head on it and long arms. But we keep getting these reports all the time, and that gets me to going like, okay, so if we're getting these reports, is something truly out there? So what do you guys think about that? What do you think about Bigfoot? First of all, many of you that are sitting here in the audience, let me kind of see if I can see some in the chat. What do y'all think about Bigfoot? And someone says, I'm not sure. I don't know why, extraterrestrials, fairies, and everything else. I get it. And so once again, let me, bring this up to par here. All right. So let's talk about, we do have people with photographs out there, right? There has been numerous of photographs and films. There's been evidence that Bigfoot exists. In fact, there was the one of the biggest films out there, if y'all remember, was the Patterson-Gimlin film. Now, this shows a female Bigfoot walking in Northern California. Y'all remember that? Anybody seen that? We're talking a female Bigfoot. This is supposed to be a documentary. And someone says Bigfoot is in the Netherlands. Bigfoot is out there. Big feet, big meat. I get you. Okay. All right. I fell for that one. I get it now. Footprints. Okay. Footprints. Hundreds of people have tracked and have documented and believe they see these footprints made by Bigfoot. Now, of course, these feet and are bigger than the normal humans, right? And some people report them to be like 14 inches and 15 inches. And we'll go through a story about that in a little bit. But they also see this evidence of Bigfoot with branches and broken rocks and just like it just went through the forest, just tearing up something like it was just ticked off. So that's a lot of stuff that people are saying is evidence that Bigfoot exists and that's like, okay, we can get into that. So what about biological samples? This is something I've always thought about. When you got hair, you got saliva, you got scat, right? You have fecal matter, you got all these things where people in areas have allegedly seen Bigfoot, and while none of these samples really prove that Bigfoot exists, there are scientists out there saying, "Hey, you know what? Let's do it. This can be a great way, to put together some genetics on these species." In fact, there was some show that I saw that they found some hair on a trash can at some place, and they actually started examining it, and they said, "Hey, it's from something." They didn't know what type of animal, and the woman said she saw it was a Bigfoot looking in her trash. I'm like, okay, really? So again, we got all this evidence, but at the end of the day, this is probably one of the biggest phenomenons out there today, and we'll get into some more details of why and how we can't find this, and so I think it's pretty interesting. Let's go into acoustic recordings. When you think about sound, remember some of these people have been talking about how they've heard all kinds of crazy recordings when it comes down to Bigfoot growls. They've heard like screeches, and now, of course, these sounds hadn't been made by any other animal out there, because they're like, hey, look, this is not a lion, it's not a wildcat, it's not a wolf. These screeches and all of this stuff, and this has been reported on a regular basis. And so that leads me to truly think about, what do we do now? How do we I'm a UFO investigator with MUFON. If you never heard of that, that's the Mutual UFO Network. And one of the things we do, we try to look at witness testimonial, because, of course, if you live here in the United States, our whole legal system is built on witnesses, right? You can go to prison for somebody to say you did this, if it's a viable witness or if the witness is credible. So in this Bigfoot arena, there's a couple of cases. Like in October 2019, there was witnesses in Delgado, California, if I'm not mistaken. If anybody remember that, they had a report seeing a large, hairy creature. And this thing ran right out in front of the road of their car. And people was like, okay, it has the same consistent report. It was an ape-like creature, had black long hair, its body, but this one had pointed ears. So I got to think, what is this, some big werewolf? But they said it had pointy ears. And I'm like, all right, so here we go. What's really happening with this? In May 2017, you can look this up. It was a hiker in a national forest in Oklahoma. He reported seeing what he described was a 7-foot tall ape man. Okay, 7-foot tall ape man walking near his camp. He stated that the creature had, once again, like everyone else, brown fur, wide shoulders, and it had an ape-like face. So another one of these reports, they're steady coming in. In August 2016, there was a multiple witnesses. Now, this was in Washington. Let me think. Yeah, Washington. Now, they reported hearing sounds coming from their homes. And when they went out to investigate it, they found large footprints. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier. They found footprints up to 14 inches long, 4 inches wide, leading the way, from their house and whatever. Now, I got to thinking, okay, 14 inches. So this week when I was at when I dropped my mom's off at my uncle's for Thanksgiving, there was some kid there. I didn't know who he was, but he was like 13 years old wearing a size 15 shoe. He didn't look like Bigfoot, but he was a big son of a gun. He was huge. And my cousin, and I have another cousin, he's like 6'9", 6'11". He had a size 17 shoe. But he ain't hairy looking like Bigfoot, so I don't get the 14 inches in the wide to symbolize that could have been Bigfoot. But at this point, who knows? But again, it's all about the footprint. And this is probably why they call them Bigfoot, right? Everybody's seeing footprints everywhere. In April 2015, there was hunters in Wisconsin, and they was coming from the woods, and this is where they were, and they heard like all these loud noises, just like everybody else. And then they observed a creature covered in dark fur running through trees. They described this as 8 foot, and they had a face like an ape. So once again, we're dealing with the evidence of people saying that they have seen this Bigfoot. And they're talking about in the forest. Here's a picture here where someone took a picture, and claims it to be Bigfoot. Now, I don't have no way of saying, hey, that's who it is. But again, this is what they're saying, that this is the Bigfoot. And I get it. I totally get it that it's out there. So once again, in July 2013, I'm just going over a few more cases. Witnesses. Now, this one's pretty weird. This was a report on Lake Michigan. Anybody know what Lake Michigan is? And what they reported was there were some people fishing. Okay. Now, these people were fishing and they saw an unknown animal swimming out the water, out the deep water. He was swimming. And this one actually disappeared under the waves, and they described it as reddish brown hair, long arms. They explained it to have hands with 4 fingers, though. Now, this was different. 4 fingers, and they're talking about a feet that looked like a frog salamander hybrid. And I was like, okay. But what stood out the most in this report is that they said that creature had a look of intelligence on his face. I can't gather that from you from there. But here's the moment, everyone, when I could see how this Bigfoot story became big. And here's what happened, I think. I felt like, being an investigator, I was like, Roderick, you need to take a closer look at exploring some of the potential causes of why people believe in Bigfoot, such as the folklore or mass hysteria, all of this stuff. Because when you think about UFOs, it's still always some type of connectivity to why people believe in what is happening with the phenomena of ufology. And we still, whenever we interview the subjects and everything else, I still got to get the background of the witnesses and everything else. So when I started looking into, once again, on the Bigfoot side, here's what I found. And maybe this could count for some people and maybe not. But what I found was folklore, number one. Okay. And I started looking into the history. There's many cultures out there that would have stories and myths about Bigfoot, the Yeti, Sasquatch, right? Y'all remember that? And a lot of these people believe that these creatures result in centuries of folklore passed down from generation to generations. If you go into some societies, all right, some of these stories are based in fact, others are purely, I think, rooted in superstition. Then you got the Bigfoot legend, and all of this stuff is seeming to be moving the phenomena. Is moving this thing, and I'm still wondering why this is happening. And then you start thinking about mass hysteria. You start thinking about why people are so freaking crazy over this. Now, I did a little research. Yeah, Nicole, Native Americans have always known they existed, and it's been in their culture that the Bigfoot, the Yeti, the Sasquatch is probably some mystical part of that, right? It's one of those deals. And then we have, like I said, mass hysteria. Now, this occurs only when people in a large group, this is going to take a large group of people this has already happened, by the way, that's caught up in this, what we call unexplainable phenomenon. And then they quickly going to spread it throughout the population. And this is going to result into, I don't know, irrational behavior maybe, or this is just going to result in everybody saying this is real, despite there's no tangible evidence to support the existence, but this is part of, and this is all psychologically, this happening out here with this thing, possibly. And then you got social forces, places like where you're looking at me now, we're talking about it. So this is additional to the folklore. This is additional to hysteria. And this is, from social media, you got all of these things right now that could be contributing to people's belief in Bigfoot. So let me start right now. How many people believe in Bigfoot? Let's put it in the chat right now. Let's make it simple. 1, if you believe in Bigfoot, nothing at all if you don't. I just want to see the ones. How many people believe in Bigfoot? That it's a possibility that there's something walking around 8 feet tall that we cannot seem to catch or capture. Whoa, bunch of ones. Oh my goodness. Okay, that's ones. All right. Somebody said alien is not Bigfoot. You don't count, but I get you. I'm with you. All right. So look at that. We got all these ones that to believing in Bigfoot. And that's where I was going with this just now, because again, there are certain social pressures that may influence the interpretation of reality, and why some people uh, it leads them to believe what they want, and even if there's no evidence about Bigfoot. And again, I've tied it to ufology. I've had people to tie this Bigfoot phenomena to ufology, but at the same time, we're talking about media. We're talking about how much attention they get in the media. We're talking about all the movies that's been made out here, the stories. We're talking about podcasts. You got YouTube channels. You got T-shirts. You have all of these stuff that I think that makes people curious. The entertainment value of it all is there. And once again, we still have never captured. Okay, so we can go with all the evidence. There's all kind of little evidence. We haven't captured one of these things. And so it led me also to ask the question and to consider. So I guess I considered the point. I was like, you know what? Let's consider whether or not there's some truth behind these sightings at all. How can we explore this with the Bigfoot phenomenon? And once again, there's been a long history of reports of strange creatures. Of course, once again, it don't fit in our conventional understanding of known animals. Especially from the sounds, the feet, the stuff that they found. And then you got these researchers out there who argue to be more, that is all true, and they say these sightings exist, and all this stuff. But let's take it another level. We got technology now, correct? We got recent advances in technology. You got forensic science. You got all of these things that opens up the avenue to explore if Bigfoot is real. Even though you got all these witnesses but people coming forward, you're claiming the seen the animal. You got all of these places where they're pretty much, what's the word I'm looking for, seeing them in weird places, not in city environments. We'll get to that in just a minute. But once again, in addition to all these eyewitnesses accounts, everyone, we still have not got the solid evidence that we need, even though there's video footage exists, and there's also all these large footprints out there everywhere. Again, that's why we call it Bigfoot. And then we have all kinds of stuff just kind of lurking, what I call in the shadows of all these deep forests and everything else. But again, some of these researchers, they're going to argue all day long. They're going to argue the possibility that Bigfoot could exist in the wilderness. How could something out there hide like it hide? And so that's another thing that always get me to kind of wondering what is really happening out here. And so I got a few questions before we really get into our next segment. And again, about the evidence itself. And those are things that I'm concerned with from there when it comes down to this Bigfoot story. I'm gonna use story from there. So I'm gonna kind of close this part out and ask you some questions. What about drones? Right? We got drones out here, satellites. We got satellites now that can look at a person smoking a cigarette over in another country, but yet we don't catch any of these things. The imagery and all of this stuff is not coming up on drones. The satellites are not seeing something moving around. Why is that? Why we can't use satellites to just cover the whole forest and see what's happening out there, to see these unknown creatures walking around? But yet we have not. But yet they're supposed to be there. Yet if they're big as they are, then you can literally understand that. You can literally see this. So I'm gonna leave you with a couple of questions in this particular segment, and it's gonna be what I call wildology. And so I don't have the answers, and maybe you have the answers. But one of the questions is, why do so many people believe that Bigfoot exists, especially when there's no definitive evidence to prove it? And then, so if you are in here and you're one of those believers, come on, spit it out real quick. Why do so many people believe in Bigfoot, and yet we have never captured one? And we got all these grainy photos and everything. So why is that? There is another question. Why are so many Bigfoot reports do come with all these blurry photos, right? You got grainy video. Oh, yeah, we can say that about UFOs too. But we just can't seem to get a clear picture of these creatures out there. All right. And it's different from a UFO, because UFO, people are trying to focus their camera on a what did I call it? They're trying to focus their camera that's 30,000 feet up. The zoom lenses don't work for that. But for a Bigfoot in the forest, your iPhone should catch some great pictures. And and then of course, why are we seeing these Bigfoots? They're not in populated areas. Okay, I could probably answer that. They just want to be away from the city, right? All of those things. And so again, we still have technology. And why? Here's another part about this thing. This is a little different than the UFOs. So the question is, why most Bigfoot witnesses, who have come forward about their stories, they don't provide additional information like names and contact information. You always see these Bigfoot things as like anonymous, right? They're just anonymous. These people do not really truly report who they are. It's almost like this mystique thing. Oh, I saw a Bigfoot in the forest and this is where we are, and that's it. So those are my questions when it comes down to Bigfoot. And this whole tonight show is going to be just based upon, when we move into the next segment, on questions and why, and maybe some factual information, because it's time that we throw this stuff out here, because Bigfoot has been around a long time, for years, through generations, and yet we don't have one actually captured. We got UFO crashes, right? We have all of those things, but it's a whole different ball game, and that makes me wonder when it comes to that. And so those are things that I want to do. All right, so we at the bottom of the hour. Like I said, this is a 3-segment show. We're going to take our first break within the show that gives some of you time to do a couple of things. Yeah, talking about teleportation. I thought about that too at one particular time, that how this would work, and pretty much. And so we're going to take our break there, and then we'll come back in about 4 minutes, and we'll get into the second segment, and that's going to be the aliens encounters. And so, like I said, this is a 3-segment show. We just covered, and we're going through a lot of information tonight. So we just covered the Bigfoot, but now we're going to get into the alien sky invasion, just some of the information out there when it comes down to alien invasions. Not so much them invading us, but just in our skies. What are we dealing with out there? Is it something serious that we need to be looking for? And then we'll put it up to that. In the meantime, take a listen to our theme song, and we'll be right back.
We all know why we're here. So let me ask you a question then. Why the big secret? Truth seekers, but really the true leaders. Keep it grooving, the movement like 2-seaters. Turn it up, we're knocking through both speakers. It's time we get the truth from the big secret keepers. Hey, truth seekers, but really the true leaders. Keep it grooving, the movement like 2-seaters. Turn it up, we're knocking through both speakers. It's time we get the truth from the big secret keepers. Hey, break it down. Now can you peep it? They're deceiving all the people. Let me ask you, what's the secret? Misinformation and lies, a devious disguise. They want the EMF blasting till our brains is fried. Oh, point their beams in the sky. Oh, it's a movie now. This world is all CGI. Their plot is truly foul. But we're here to rise up and bring the real. Time is now, truth seekers. Y'all know how I feel. Truth seekers, but really the true leaders. Keep it grooving, the movement like 2-seaters. Turn it up, we're knocking through both speakers. It's time we get the truth from the big secret keepers. Hey, truth seekers, but really the true leaders. Keep it grooving, the movement like 2-seaters. Turn it up, we're knocking through both speakers. It's time we get the truth from the big secret keepers. Hey, why the big secret?
All right, so welcome back a little bit. Just had to get our slides together, but the whole point now, again, we're going to go into segment 2 real here, and this is going to be more of alien encounters, the theories behind it, because it's all about facts tonight. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit, and getting you into a point, because this is all going to set up for some future shows. This is why I'm giving you some tidbits in the segments, and so we can kind of go into that. And let's talk about it. Let's go into what we want to think about what's in our skies, how safe is our skies, and everything else. And so, and, I always thought about literally taking a look into the, and if we look into the past, we can get a glimpse into the future, especially when it comes down to these alien uh, encounter, especially in our skies and everything else. And what could it mean for us in the future? And that's when I realized the reports on alien sightings and the encounters, these things date back all the way back to 600 BC. So once again, we're talking about Bigfoot. Now we're going back to aliens encounters, and these things are dating all the way back to 600 BC, where Greek philosopher or Aristotle, or whatever his name, remember he talked about that. Now, of course, we know one of the most well-known encounters was Roswell, New Mexico, in 1847. Now, this incident resulted in our first, what I call the beginning of the real cover-ups. Where we got the military, you got extraterrestrial craft that crashed, you have occupants. All of this were taken for military study, but yet today, like I said, I'm going through this because same as with Bigfoot, same as now with the UFOs, we still have all these doubts, though. Now, of course, I was doubting the Bigfoot theory, but yet we have all these reports and stuff. But now I'm a UFO investigator. So if you think about a real famous case, let me give you one that was in Mississippi. Now, this one was pretty good. This was with two men. If you guys have heard about it, I think it was in Pastagola, Mississippi. This was in 1976. Okay, and this is where there was two guys. They was fishing, and they described they had been abducted by what they call humanoid creatures with large eyes and thin frames. Now, this account is still kind of controversial today because, again, it's still about eyewitnesses' account, but it was also one of the well-documented cases that could not be explained away by conventional means. They had enough evidence that they could not say this stuff didn't happen, but yet there was enough people that still today that still shoot down all of these theories about what's going on with that. So I think it's something that, yeah, they were fishing, and so it's one of these things that you really want to look at when you get down to. And there was reports of close encounters with UFOs that this has been happening. And let me give you some information right now. Check this out. There's probably if I'm not mistaken, there's probably been in 2019, hear me out, over 8,000 UFO sightings. That's right, I have to remember. 8,000 UFO sightings, okay, alone. And this was reported at the National Reporting Center, if you ever heard of Norfolk. We're talking 8,000 in 1 year, but yet we still got people today saying, oh, UFO is not real. We don't have it. But this is significant because it shows that UFOs are common. And I tell people all the time, just look up. People ask me, Roderick, how come I don't see a UFO? How many people think about our eyes and the way our eyes are designed. We don't have where it's just designed up. But I promise you, if you took a week and put on a net brace or something and you just looked up all the time, you're gonna see something up there. You will see something up there without a shadow of a doubt. You're gonna see it. It's not. I'm serious, and because they're so common. Now, some of the theories out there why we're seeing these type of events and how they're conducted by what we call extraterrestrials or aliens. And there's other theories out there that people are just saying, this is just hoax. This is maybe pranks that's going through, and some of these people saying it could be possibly a false flag operation. And then if you start really thinking about it, you think about no matter how you want to see it. My thing is to anybody, there's something going on in our skies, and it's something we need to be looking into all the time. And if we pay close attention, we just might start trying to figure this thing out. And so when I start looking at things, this is when I realized it was a good idea to explore some of the theories that some of these scientists was talking about and the possible alien contact and everything else. And if you start thinking right now, there's a disconnect between scientists, there's a disconnect between how the general public and everyone sees these extraterrestrials and UFOs and everything else. And so that's another thing that we have to truly look into when it comes down to it. But scientists all along, they don't play with this thing. They do not want to play with the UFO side because, again, it's an anomaly. It's not something that they can base a theory on because it's not happening in the same spot over and over. To now a theory is now come to pass to say, okay, now this is happening like this, and this is how most uh, I would say some of the scientists come to their theories. And one of the other popular theories is that aliens come in search of resources. People say that. What do y'all think about that? Do you think they are visiting us for resources? Do you think that this is what's happening? Now, we all can put that together with the ancient alien or ancient astronaut ideas, right? Uh, they coming or they come here to observe us and all these things. Yeah, Steven says no. Yeah, so that's one of the things there. So, what about another common theory that aliens are actually coming here to observe us? Now, we've done that. Many species have been studied in their natural habitat. We do it all the time. But it's been suggested that Earth may be a place where they're coming to check us out or watch us and all those things and studying our habits and behavior, maybe just for their science projects or something, right? So there's so many reasons there. And some people believe that the UFO sightings could be intergalactic travelers and, sent from the future where advanced civilization exists, even our own civilization, where we were the one coming back. So tonight, like I said, we're just going over so many of these things when it comes down to what is happening. And another part is suggest that, maybe they're here to help us through difficult times, right? Provide mentorship. You hear it all the time, they're here to save the world. They're raising our consciousness and all of those things. And so that's always been a question of does that happens to where extraterrestrials are doing such a things and they're here to help us. And finally, it's always been hypothesized that extraterrestrials may simply be just here to do hybrids things, take humans and take some of them off other planets and start species other places and create hybrid programs and all those things. So it's been so much into this thing. And here's a moment when I felt I can give some better insight. I was like, okay, I'm a UFO investigator researcher. I'm part of the highly respected MUFON. Let me start by examining some of these UFO sightings and what's increased in these last few years. And let me put all this together. Someone 3 Point says, I'm a hybrid. All right. Okay. We got a hybrid in here. That's cool. And so, but if you think about it in the recent years, these sightings have become more frequent. Reports of them is coming all across the globe. This is we can get away from the speculation that something's not out there. So this is why I'm telling people now we have to really truly look at this is happening, people. We got things flying around in our sky that we don't know what it is. And let me give you a big number, a big number. It was estimated around 20 million people have seen a UFO at some point or another. And these sightings are reported in different places, but imagine the ones that nobody have reported. 20 million people have seen a UFO. And that's a lot of sightings, people, a lot of sightings out there. And so most people are like, okay, this is what's going on from here. So these various sightings, if you start thinking about it, the increase of this is just making it say, okay, wait a minute, there's something more out here. And I'm not saying they all could be alien driven. I'm not saying that. But you got to understand that you're talking about from government cover-ups. You're talking about, advanced technology by military forces. You got all these things that the possibility of what could be in our skies and everything else. And so that's something for us to look at. But whatever's causing it is clear that with the number of UFO sightings on the rise, it's just something for us to look at. Here, even in MUFON, I think last month or so, we had 500 sightings in 1 month or reports. I'm not saying that all the reports are UFOs, but at the end of the day, It's part of the process of they're out there. There's something out there in our skies, and we just have to now understand. Now I know we all can probably sit here waiting. Roderick, okay, the ET is going to come forward and tell us everything and shout, "Hey, we're here. We're now here. Here's where we are." But I don't think that's going to happen at all. Now you got some of these researchers out here who are like, well, they're intelligent life forms, and we're not we have to, it's sin or whatever the word people are using these days. We have to get our consciousness higher before they reveal themselves. Well, I don't, is that going to happen in our lifetime, or is going to be something else? And so now that takes us over to some of the government side things. Consider how our governments around the world have reacted. All these governments, this is not just us. I watched a movie the other day called, I think it was called Making Contact or whatever. It's about the Brazilian. I think, Nicole, you told me about it. It was about what happened in Brazil. This was a crazy documentary. It was so good, though. So good. So many witnesses, so many government officials, all these people talking about this alien crash and these beings that they captured and how the guy died and all this stuff, who touched it and everything else. And at the end of the day, the United States, moment of contact. Yes, there you go. And at the end of the day, the United States is the one who come and take the evidence from Brazil. But they had so many people that saw this, fire department, the mayor, and they all told this compelling story. It was incredible, and how the creature was afraid, and all of this stuff, and then how another ship, I think, came looking for the creatures, right, for the ones that crashed, like some bag up, like, where y'all at? I mean, this thing was crazy, and y'all need to check it out. You really need to check out that particular show. So again, when you start thinking about all these governments involved, what's happening in our airspaces and all of these things, it only tells us one thing. We're not going to find out what we think we want to know. Okay. So in other cases, we're talking about the government, we're talking about all these places. We're not going to find out what we seek unless there's just some possibility that some government is going to not government, some extraterrestrial is going to just land and get out. The name of that documentary is called Moment of Contact. You can find it on Amazon. You can buy it for like $4.99 or something. It is a truly Amazon Prime. It is a great show. I watched it over the Thanksgiving, and it was just, it's long, but it's worth it. And you'll stay there and watch all of it. It's that compelling. Yes, that good. So if you think about, for example, let's look at France. France officially, they released some documentation for their agency a while back. They detail over 2,000 reported UFOs. This was in 2004, back then. And so if you think about it at this point, it's just not our country. It's all these other countries at some point have been investigating them, or at some point have been, looking into the UFO phenomena, but it has not been this big secret that we think. But it's just, some of these other countries that have a real tight lip on it, pretty much. But they all looking for it. They all been wanting to know what has been happening around here. And so, in addition to that, you got countries all around the world that are taking steps looking into these UFOs. So I got a couple of questions for y'all in just a few seconds, and we'll get into this. But like I said, Brazil created their own agency. Now they have their own UFO day. Brazil has a UFO day. Is it Brazil? Yeah. And National UFO Day. It's a national day. Now they did it before us. But here's something I want to ask you guys. Did you know that supposedly, I heard this a while back, that Russia, this was in 1992 sometime, put some type of legislation together where they made it illegal for citizens not to report a UFO sighting. And I'm not sure if that's true. Somebody mentioned that to me in conversations, so I'm bringing it up. So now I want you guys to fact check that, because someone said that that was happening back in 1982. So I tried to look forward a little bit. So if that's the case, then I got the greatest audience in the world because you guys are going to know from there. Somebody said it doesn't matter. Nicole said I've never heard of that. Yeah, look it up because someone was talking to me about that. I was on a trip about 3 months ago or 4 months ago, and so I just kind of repeating it. But I'm like, huh. So I thought tonight when I was writing my notes to ask you guys, maybe you guys know about if Russia did such a thing. So because again, that just tell you how people are taking this conversation so freaking serious when it comes down to what we're doing here. And I just think it's kind of, weird that we still got people today that are still, after all these disappearances, I'm sorry, we got all these abductions, we got all these encounters, we got all of these witnesses, we have all of this, but yet today we still cannot get to a point that we're not alone in this universe. I just don't understand it. I still try not to understand it, but I still equate that to what I said earlier when it came down to Bigfoot. Out of all the stuff, I'm still skeptical about Bigfoot. I think we need some more evidence. Now I did have my own theory because there was a lot of times that people said that Bigfoot was always there was some light or they smelled the smell whenever they smelled it out there in the wilderness, and it just the track stops in the middle of nowhere. So I came up. I said, well, maybe Bigfoot was a pet. Maybe there's alien aircraft that has this, cloaking technology. Parks let them out to use the restroom. Same thing we let our dogs out, and Bigfoot come back in or something. That's what I was thinking. Why do we don't see it and it just disappears out of the middle of nowhere? But it's still unexplained. I don't know. So those are the things that we look at. Sasquatch is self-evidence. Okay, so there's also the reports of abductions, as we talk about here in the UFOs. We have beings. We got the stories once again of encounters. You got people believing that there's some advanced species out there. We have people believing that we've been observed. We got people. We talked about cattle mutilations once. We talked about all these different things, but it all leads down to high strangeness. There's some high strangeness, and there's something that we can literally look into to kind of find out what is really going on with that. But again, it's still the unexplainable, right? There's a lot of things that people are looking for. So let me go through a couple of questions for you, and and we can count on. Roderick is a government cover up. He said, Roderick, it's the government. Yes, it is, Sean. We're going to talk about that in the last moment here on the big secrets and cover ups next. We're going to get into that a little bit. But I think when you get into the questions, and this is for you guys, this is for all of you in the audience. Why is it that humanity has continued to be bombarded by these UFO sightings, aliens encounters over the centuries? Why are we this is happening? And that's the question that I think most people want to know. Why is this happening? Why are we being bombarded with this? Why do some of the experts out there that comes to think that the aliens are watching us from a distance, but yet they chosen not to make contact with us? Why is that? Anybody can answer that. So why haven't they literally made true contact with us? Now, of course, some people can say, hey, Roderick, you're a UFO investigator. But today, I just got my why hat on for us to ask those questions. Why is that? And the other part is, when you think about it, why do so many people believe in these theories about extraterrestrials visiting Earth for thousands of years, despite I can't say always so much of the lack of physical evidence because we got it. We have the pyramids, we have all of these things, but it's the scientific proof that we still seek, and this is why I think the government and a lot of these people don't play with it. We're actually going to do a show on crop circles with Barbara Lamb and a few other people. But one of my other questions: why do the idea of alien life comes from our planet? And then, of course, at this point, why do we not think that they're not time travelers? That if time travel was invented, could they be coming back, but they're future of us, that we have evolved into something else? And so It just answers, just get you to want to know all those questions and all of that. But at the end of the day, we're in it, folks. We are in it. And this is what I enjoy the most about what I do, because every day, we get reports. I work on cases. Now being a UFO investigator, I would say none of us actually investigate UFOs. We don't actually put our hands and touch a UFO. Um, Being an investigator, not thousands of people that does it. No, we do, investigate, photographs, witnesses, pictures, and all of those things. And so those are stuff that, we still once again have to uh, trust the witnesses when it comes down to that. And that's something that we really have to do. So, all right, real quickly, we get into our last part here in a little bit. It's going to be a quick show tonight. So what's the deal? How many of you have seen a UFO? Put it in the chat. It's a setup question because I'm looking for an answer. How many of you have seen a UFO? Now that's an unidentified flying object. Don't have to be alien driven, but how many people have seen a UFO? And if you got pictures of it or evidence of seeing this UFO, definitely would love to check out that information at some point. But I just want to know. So we're gonna wait. We're waiting for a number. Menaticus, what is that? Um, Girl from the base, I have videos. You've been around me so long, I should have been and got them videos. What are you talking about? Um, yeah, girl, you would have been on slid those videos into 10 emails, all of that stuff. You've been around a long time and you tell them you got some videos. Come on with it. All right, anybody else that's seen UFOs and you got some documentation? Because documentation, you know, beats conversation all day long. I'm guarantee you to tell you that all across the board. So that is something that we can look into. All right. So the show, everybody's still trying to figure out the show. Somebody else said y'all seen two of them. That's cool. All right. All right. So we're going to get into some of the conspiracies here. And in this conspiracies, we're talking about the biggest one is Area 51. But most importantly, there's a lot of big cover-ups in conspiracy. Now, this is going to be open for a little more conversation. So we're going to hit this really hard. And it may just open up a few people. And I don't know how you're going to feel about it, but it's definitely we're going to see that. So here's the deal. Someone says something MUFON. I don't know why he's saying whatever MUFON, but we're going to do that. So we got you out of here. So, all right. So at this point, what I'm saying is that now we're going to get into the bigger part here. Okay. The bigger part here is let's explore three things here. While the government, we got private contractors, and we definitely got the church. Why are all of these people a part of the big cover up? Because I think most people like to sit here and we're going to blame the big secret keepers, which is, I think they're all one. Okay. They all are one. All right. So you got the big secret keepers. We'll start with the government. Okay. And you always want to question, why would they want to keep this a secret from the people? Now we can easily say they want to maintain control, keep the control over the population, because people say that all the time. They don't think they think people would panic. I believe it's technology. I believe it's technology is one of the biggest reasons why they definitely want to keep it a big secret. It's the technology. And I think people need to probably understand that, because we thinking that they're just against us, but it's technology. Whoever has the technology wins the game of the world, controlling the world, so to speak. You talk about military, so our government definitely wants the technology. If they find something, they want to keep it. They want to reverse engineer. They want to figure out how this works. How can we tie something on it, a weapon on it, and use it? This thing flies across the earth fast and quick. How can we put that together? So then you're talking about money, power. All of this is one of the reasons that the government will keep it a secret. What do you think? Put it in chat. Why do you think the government would like to keep this from the people. Girl from the Bay said because the government capitalizes off resources, labor, and slavery and oil, and they, all right. So we get it. Rashawn said he just rented the movie. You're gonna like it. Nicole said control the masses. That is true. But how would they control the masses by keeping a UFO secret, Nicole? What purposes of that? Let's go into that. By not telling us that aliens exist. And I'm following you though. I agree with you. But why would they do that? So let's get into the next powers. The church. The church is part of the big secret keepers. We blame some people. We blame the government, but we know the church want to preserve their religious doctrines. Anything that contradict any evidence of aliens and extraterrestrials. But then you got the Vatican saying, "Hey, wait a minute, we about willing to let people know it's real." Nicole said they don't want us to know our true origins. Okay, that's cool. And you can't handle the truth. Said if they reverse engineering, they can control. Okay. Energy sources. I get it. I'm with you on that. Someone else said, why would they target people who've seen UFOs? We don't understand the technology. True enough. And someone else says, right, the church would say it's demons. You're right, Miss Raphael. So this thing is, where I'm going with this for people is to know that this thing is huge. It's huge. There's a lot of people in on keeping this UFO thing a secret. A lot of people is in on it, y'all. A lot of people. Private contractors. Why would they want to keep it a secret? Plain and simple. Money, probably. Private contractors, it's all about the money. They don't want us to know. And they get the stuff as well. It's not, the government is not the only one out there retrieving crash vehicles, crash retrievals. Private contractors do it too. And they hide it from the government every single time. You got companies out there that has the money, the power, the technology, the resources. Think of Elon Musk's company, Blue Origin. These companies got their own satellites. They got their own crew of people that could go out here and literally, if something crashed, they can see it before the government does in some cases. And then they go out there and get it and hide it. But everybody is hiding the big secret. And we tend to want to blame that it's on one sector. So you got private contractors. And you got private contractors who probably got 30,000 employees, all 50,000, 100,000, all signed to NDAs, who are all keeping a big secret. Okay. You have the church. You have the government. You have all these so it's a bigger thing. And I can't tell you how to break the veil at some point, but we can also discuss some of the methods that they use to cover it up. One could be destroying physical evidence. You hear it all the time. They're destroying some of these documents. They're destroying, some of the evidence itself, wreckage. After they get what they need, they destroy the rest. All of this in this big cover up. And why is it so big? And there's no big cover up on Bigfoot, right? There ain't nobody hiding Bigfoot. We just can't find nothing, All right, yeah, Noel, knowledge is power. I agree. So ain't nobody hiding no Bigfoot from us, right? They ain't trying to. They ain't nobody blocking Bigfoot stories and all that. It's just as mystical as all get out. But when it comes down to this UFO stuff, it's a big secret. There's a lot of people hiding the facts when it comes down to this. When it comes down to disseminating false information regarding UFO sightings and events, or aliens that, some people want to call them hoaxes, and all this stuff is to distract people from the truth. Why they do that though? Why do we have so much hidden parameters when it comes down to this UFO stuff? And I just think, once again, it's something for us to ask those questions, and everything else. And so, besides religious doctrine, anybody want to throw your comment in the hat of why the church? It's just so. And we're not talking. Let's leave the Vatican out of this. There are preachers and there are church groups just about on every corner here in Texas. And that was time my aunt came here one time, and she said, she started laughing. She said, "Son, if you go to hell here in Dallas, it's your own fault." I said, "Well, why, Aunt?" I was young. She said, "There's a church on every corner. It's your own fault if you go to hell." I'm like, "Oh, okay, I get it." So, but where I'm going with this is this, and see if someone can answer this question. Let's move away from the Vatican. Why does the normal churches, if the scriptures are where they are, if someone can read them, why do everyone skip or don't talk about the extraterrestrial factor? Is it not in all the books? Is there not reminiscences there, scriptures there? And I'm just asking, some of y'all can get in on this. Someone said, "I'm not sure churches are paid off." I don't know about that. I don't know. It will stop people from going to church, is what Macy say. Okay, that's fair enough. Anyone else? And then Macy, elaborate a little bit. I'll talk about it here in the chat. So it's meant to be a distraction because it doesn't line up with interpretation. Okay, that's cool. But then people can read it. You can read it just as much as I do. Somebody said money bags. It's part of religion. Control. Okay. Is there a plan? Is there a plain as day? Is there a plain as day? I get you. But they just don't say anything about it. I'm with you. Nicole says plain as day. It's sitting there. They just don't. So why are they doing it though? And she says, "Stop them from getting them tides." All right. I understand that wholeheartedly, right? So once again, though, let's go with media now. Let's go with the media. Why they control access? You think the media at some point supposed to be for the people? They make money off good stories. Why don't they report more about UFOs? Why don't we see the media first story in the day? There was a UFO sighting again, and everything else. And so where I'm getting with it is there's a big synergy around this particular topic, and this is why I do what I do. Okay, and everything else. And so it's one of those things from there. I have a question though. I'm assuming that our audience is what's the word I'm looking for? African American, people of color. And I know there's a mixed audience here, so I'm not calling anyone out. My question is for you, for us. Why is it taboo to talk about this in our community? Why is it taboo? Just as much as the cover-ups, just as much as the Bibles, just as much as the government. Why is it segmented in some cases? Because I think so, because I've been doing this a while. Maybe y'all can answer that. Do y'all think that this is a conversation that we in a community could have about ETs? And if not, why is it more of a taboo subject? I don't know. So I'm waiting. Don't leave me out here. Come on, people. All right now. Can y'all hear me now? We had a technical difficulties. I don't know why my camera keep frozen, but it was. My goodness. All right. So let me change this up a little bit. All right. So we have some technical difficulties here. Maybe it's on purpose. I can't tell you what is really happening on this end, but we're going to end it because we have some technical difficulties. It's messing up on the back end. So all right.